Pro Group Management. Workers' comp that works for you.
Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers on the broadcast today, coming to you from Carson City, a great all-Pundits show with Mike Draper, Helen Foley, and Jesse Wadhams. It's all coming up next on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers. Big R in Sparks is located on Bering Boulevard next to Smith's and across from Reed High School. It's a 50,000 square foot hardware store and a whole lot more. It's huge, with clothing, power equipment, tools, and of course, hardware. Big R is located on Bering Boulevard in Sparks, next to Smith's and opposite Reed High School. Big R, hardware, and a whole lot more.
Come join the month-long celebration during the Carson Valley Inn 13th anniversary giveaways with guaranteed $1,000 winners every drawing night and a $13,000 grand prize winner guaranteed. Come celebrate with us during the 13th anniversary giveaways at the Carson Valley Inn.
When in Carson City, Nevada Newsmakers records in the conference room at the Bank Saloon. Coverage of the 2023 legislative session is brought to you by Liberty Dental Plan, making members shine one smile at a time. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you. The Regional Transportation Commission of Washoe County, your RTC, our community. NV Energy, proudly serving Nevada, providing electricity to 2.4 million electric customers. And by Nevada Builders Alliance, building a better Nevada.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, coming to you from Carson City. We're joined by three of the top lobbyists in the state. Mike Draper is here, partnered with Argentum Partners. Helen Foley is the president of Foley Public Affairs, and Jesse Wadhams is a partner with Black & Wadhams. Pleasure to have you all here. I'm starting out with you, Helen, because you are wearing jeans. Why?
I am wearing jeans today because today is Denim Day internationally. And the reason that we wear them is because in the 90s, there was an 18-year-old girl that was raped. The gentleman was convicted, and the case went before the Supreme Court in Italy. And what the Supreme Court said was her jeans were so tight that she obviously found it to be consensual because she had to help take those jeans off in order for that to happen. And so the very next day, all the women in Parliament stood before the Supreme Court in their denim to protest this. And now around the world, men and women wear denim on this day, April 26th, in solidarity against domestic violence.
Okay, well, thank you for sharing that with us.
Thank you.
Let's talk about the session now. Jesse, as you walked in, you said it's an interesting session so far. What are your thoughts on this? Because obviously, 180 degrees different from 2 years ago when nobody could get in the building until the very end.
It is. It's this session has been interesting in a couple of weird and ways that I don't think anyone truly expected. Because obviously, you don't have the big, usually we're fighting over money and whose ox is gonna get gored at the end to pay for certain services, and yet we're sitting on a fairly robust budget surplus. So you're gonna try to argue about who's gonna spend more on what. So that doesn't lend to the pacing and having the trade bait of bills so far. And I think the other thing that has been, interesting is the attempt to keep certain pieces of the COVID session, even in the in-person session that we're having now. Things like we're going to have much more call-in testimony, and folks from Zoom, and I think it does create, weird timing issues with how much time we're sort of spending on caller, are you there? And unmute yourself, and probably wasting many hours on that. And so it's just kind of creating this slower pace than I think, normal.
In past sessions, when I would sit in on committee hearings, I have to say that when people would testify from Las Vegas, that it seemed to be a time for the legislators to chat amongst each others, go to the bathroom, come back. It didn't seem to carry the same weight that the in-person testimony was there. At the same time, we now have these 2-minute limits which seem to me to be ridiculous for these very, very serious issues.
Yeah, I think we've heard that. That's been a prevailing theme for this legislative session, is that when I think there's a lot of good that comes from making our legislature even more accessible. And the fact that, as Jesse said, people can call in and like you said, testify from Las Vegas. It's much more accessible, and I think there's a lot of value and merit to it. I think you begin to diminish that merit, though, when you arbitrarily allow people 2 minutes to talk. I think these issues are extremely important issues, and there's people that are very passionate about these issues. And if we're talking about trying to fully vet policy to cut people off, I think there's other rules that we can put in place. I think in past sessions I've seen chair people be much more adamant of, hey, if it's the same testimony, just get up and say, we support it or ditto.
Right.
But don't cut someone off if we're talking about new points and really important discussion. And I think we've seen a lot of people that have felt like they were cut off and didn't get to offer their insight and expertise on certain policy decisions.
And Steve Sebelius, I believe it was, made a comment in a column in the last couple of days where he talked about the fact that you guys are the most informed. We have a citizen legislature. They are not experts in all the different topics that you have to deal with during a session. And the best lobbyists, like you guys, invariably present both sides of the issue so that the legislators can make up their mind, because that's how you maintain your integrity. Am I not correct about that?
Oh, absolutely. And I learned a lesson from Jesse's father, Jim Wadhams. When I go,
we all?
Oh, yes. When I go and testify, I give my pitch, but then I always say, but you are going to hear from the opposition, this and that, and all of the arguments, so that we can inoculate that legislator before the opposition comes in. But lobbyists are extremely valuable. In the old days when there wasn't term limits, you could have legislators really develop a strong expertise on issues, such as Randolph Townsend with energy. Over the years, he became quite the expert. We don't have that much time now. And so lobbyists coming in to advise legislators on different issues that are coming before them is extremely valuable. Last session, you had legislators sitting in their own offices on a Zoom call, not even communicating with each other. That had to be very difficult for them. And then, of course, we weren't even allowed in the building. And then from the sky somewhere, we had our magical 2 minutes to speak. One of the things that I don't like is that when there is support for a bill, the testimony seems to be endless. And then the opposition gets up and they're making very strong, salient points. 2 minutes, you're off, you're out of here. So that needs to be moderated and modified a bit.
Okay, and what thoughts do you have on the way that could be done? Because, you don't get to bring bills.
Right. Well,
not in that sense.
Not
anyway.
in that sense, right? And one of the things that I think, and both Mike and Helen have touched on it, and I think this is absolutely critical, is the idea of having a discussion about why a bill will work or won't work. What we have gotten into more so is presentations about why we should do a bill, not what the bill is doing per se. It's not the technical pieces of the bill. It's more of a show of, and actually it used to be Bernie Anderson would say, if you're going to come in and talk to me about why we're hearing this bill, I don't need to hear it. We're hearing the bill. Tell me what the pieces will do and how it works, rather than have this presentation about, well, this will be so great once we do it. Because and again, it's trying to figure out how the pieces of the bill will work or won't work once it's put into practice.
I want to thank all the legislators who have been on the program so far and those that have already agreed to come on, but it concerns me, and I know other media, that the communication between the legislators to the media and therefore the general public is just not there, and it hasn't been there for the last several years.
I think we're seeing more and more the effects of term limits, right? And I think COVID also exacerbated that. I think we've got legislators that it used to be we had legislators that were here for decades in some cases, And I think they were very comfortable and built relationships with the media, with lobbyists, and I think everybody felt like we were all coming, we were all rowing in the same direction, albeit we might have different ideas on how to get there. But there was a much more transparent but comfortable level of communication and a level of trust. When we've got so many new legislators, and we had a session or a session and a special session that was a distance session, and legislators were in their offices, and lobbyists and media were in other places. I think that now we have a group of legislators who, many of them, this is their first experience where the building's been open and communicating with media and communicating with lobbyists. And I think that level of trust isn't there. And right or wrong, I think the opportunity to build relationships and build trust is something that we miss desperately in Carson City. And I know over my, almost 20 years of doing this that it's dissipated tremendously. And then in the last 3 years, it's really, I think, just kind of disappeared. We're all starting at ground zero.
How do you feel about this? Because the media has a very important role to play in this, and if you're not able, somebody wrote recently that legislators were running out the back door rather than talk to the media.
It doesn't make sense to me, because you need your constituents to know that you're working hard for them. And so it's an opportunity to share with the media what you're doing, if you feel strongly about your issues, to be able to get some press on it. There should be a much better relationship with the media, and maybe part of it is your fault as the media.
You're not blaming me personally, right?
Not you personally.
No, I'm kidding.
You're in the imperial sense, all of us together.
Right.
But I think that we need to rebuild that trust.
I also think it's a reflection of where we are nationally, right? Or nationally, we've become very politically volatile. I think media has become much more opinionated, and I think that legislator, my experience, I would, both Helen and I have a public relations background. My experience is media in Nevada is, I think, for the most part, very credible and tries to tell both sides of the story. And I think that if a legislator is basing their opinion in the media based on what they see on national television or what they read nationally, there might be some apprehension in working with in-state media, and I think that that's something that does a disservice to our constituents and Nevada residents.
I was talking to a political consultant last night, and they were talking about how newspapers do not have the strength that they had before, that even radio and television does not have the strength it had before. And I talked about it as being the pie is getting bigger, but with digital, the slices are getting smaller. It makes it tougher and tougher for you guys on issues where in the past you would be able to reach out to a half a dozen people and be able to get your story out across the state. Now you've got to reach out to 50 people.
Well, and I think you hit on another thing that is obviously bigger than Nevada, but it's that sort of balkanization of media where now things are so much more fragmented, and now there's no single place of getting your news from the daily paper or the 6 o'clock newscast. Now it's, well, I can find it in this blog that appeals to my conservative sensibilities, or this particular website that is my liberal sensibilities, and you're not seeing that mix anymore, and I think that certainly contributes to how folks interact. And I think the other piece is the way we are operating the legislature seems to be much more there was much more interaction, I think, before, and now it is a little bit more cloistered, and folks aren't having the personal conversations with not only their fellow legislators and lobbyists to sort of develop the human interest piece of that, like, oh, your kids play soccer, mine does too, right? So you kind of start to develop, rather than we're in the Democrat or Republican jersey, oh, wait, we have some things we can talk about.
Yeah, and I mean, we've seen it in D.C. where people used to socialize, but now they're so quick to get back to their districts that they don't have to socialize, so therefore both sides of the aisle are not getting that chance to build relationships, and now we're seeing that obviously happening here too.
Yeah, it's I think more and more we've become fragmented. We can socialize with people through social media, we can read media that just reflects our viewpoint. And I think society has started to trend towards, I want to be around people that will validate my viewpoint, reinforce my viewpoint, and read media that will validate and reinforce my viewpoint, rather than talk with people and hear other viewpoints. If we start from a place of everybody's a little bit right, or at least everybody's a little bit right, and usually there's no perfect solutions, I think that creates a much better dialogue. And when we just had a few media outlets, that provided an opportunity to see multiple perspectives. And certainly the relationship standpoint of, I think, term limits, I think well-intentioned laws and regulations to curb lobbyist spending and campaign expenditures and things like that, very well intentioned, but I think they've had the effect of, again, not establishing relationships with people of all parties and all viewpoints, and building a level of trust. I think it all comes down to a level of trust. I know we would all sit here and say, you know, our biggest asset is trust. I think you would say that as well,
Sure.
Sam. I think that getting to know someone and trust them is a really important part of creating policy, and I think we've really lost the opportunities to do that.
All right, let's take a break. We'll come back and we're going to talk baseball. I can't imagine what. After this time.
Located in the heart of Carson City, the Bank Saloon is a historic watering hole with a modern feel. With a variety of classic cocktails featuring Nevada spirits, space for private events, conferences, and an incredible atmosphere, the Bank Saloon offers a great location to work and play. Come visit us. Located at the corner of 5th and Carson, we'll save you a drink.
The casino industry drove Nevada's economy for decades. By the 1990s, however, the state's sole industry was in sharp decline. Many were losing their homes, many were leaving the state. Is Reno on track to be the Detroit of the West? Was an October 2010 Reno Gazette-Journal headline. Nevada knew it was time for a change and a time to diversify. Story County took that lead, took risks, invested tens of millions transforming its desert into a place of opportunity and a future for Nevada families needing something new. That desert now provides thousands of high-paying tech, advanced manufacturing, and energy careers at companies like Tesla, Panasonic, Google, Switch, and Redwood Materials. Story County transformed Northern Nevada forever, and the tide of opportunity has raised all vessels through construction contracts, high-paying careers, and the power of payroll. Tens of millions have been generated in sales and property tax, permits, and other revenues for Reno, Sparks, Washoe County, and for all of Nevada. Enough, in fact, to generate a surplus after public services are provided. And best of all, a sustainable economic climate has been created, enabling our children to stay in Nevada and live prosperous lives in their home state. Story County, improving Northern Nevada one industry at a time.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, coming to you from Carson City, here with our three top lobbyists, Jesse Wadhams, Helen Foley, and Mike Draper. So we'll start with you, Helen, again. The A's and the potential for some kind of not public funding per se, but a special tax increment district. Mm-hmm. Is this going to happen during session, or is this, do you think, going to be a special session?
There'll be a lot of discussion during the session, and I am excited about it. Because the Raiders came and the Golden Knights first, and now with baseball, and I can't wait for basketball. Right. It is so exciting for Las Vegas. And with those major stadiums and everything, we end up getting Garth Brooks and Taylor Swift and all of these mega stars. Las Vegas is just soaring. It's really wonderful. But how do we pay for it? You know, one of the issues is nobody wants to raise taxes to do that. And we did raise the tax for rooms, right. The room tax for the Raiders, $750 million. There seems to be some kind of negotiation for $500 million for the A's, but it will be done in a different way, through a tax increment financing, so that money that is generated, tax dollars that are generated within that area, will then eventually be spent to serve the A's. One of the concerns that I have is making sure that the Governor's Office of Economic Development is as transparent as they can be, that they must bring in the county involved, which is Clark County, to negotiate these deals. You know, we've had Tesla and Tesla 2 and Panasonic, Redwood Materials, and Story County has kind of been left out of those issues. There was a bill that was introduced early in the session, didn't go anywhere, thank goodness, that was going to take 80% of the money that had been generated for property taxes, that property taxes are clearly the domain of a county, and spread it around the state to other economic development agencies, a lot to Washoe County, while poor Story County, who have about 4,000 people, and the infrastructure that was created during the era of Mark Twain, they've been waiting, they've been sacrificing all of these years to be able to build out an infrastructure and modernize their community. The state needs to bring in more players and make sure that local governments have a say in what's going on in their counties. I see some hesitation on the part of Michael Naft and others who serve on the county commission.
Yeah.
That's right. You know, they want to be a part of this, and we have to have transparency, we have to have accountability. So that's what I have to say about it, but I do want them to come.
Okay. Special session or regular session?
Well, you know, first of all, go Twins, so that's what I want to get on the record. But I tend to think that this probably, in order to sort of have the right mix of give and take, probably has to be during the regular session. Now, it may spill over to the special, but I tend to think that if you're going to sort of have the proper, I don't know, trading and the proper sort of vetting of the bill, it probably does need to be during the regular session. So one would think it should be introduced relatively soon.
Okay. Is there enough time in this session? Quick answer.
Yeah, I think there's enough time. I think if we feel like something's a worthwhile investment, there's always enough time to vet it.
All right. Let's take another break and we'll be right back.
The Nevada Builders Alliance has been protecting the interests of the construction industry for over 50 years. Our programs save members thousands of dollars every year and allow them to provide much-needed benefits to their employees. Our industry also allows Nevada to grow. If you're thinking about a career in the construction industry, reach out. And if you haven't thought of a career in construction, what are you waiting for? We are the Nevada Builders Alliance.
What do you count on? You count on your power every day. At NV Energy, we've always powered what's important to you, but we're not looking at the past. We're focused on the future. While our standards are high, our rates will remain low. And our commitment to renewables isn't just meeting standards, but leading the way. Because you can count on more than just your power. You can count on the company who brings it to you. That's our promise. You can count on it.
Early in the morning or throughout the night, professional truck drivers are on the job, serving you, safely moving freight that's crucial to our economy. From the oldest industries to our newest innovators, from the exotic to the everyday, trucks are everywhere, moving everything. Never afraid to embrace a future that makes Nevada and our nation stronger. Trucking moves America forward.
It's the Lucky Lexus Cash and Free Play giveaways at Tamarack. Weekly cash and free play winners plus a $20,000 cash winner guarantee. And drive home a brand new Lexus NX30 or walk away with $42,500 in cash. It's a good time to win at Tamarack Casino.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we have a great panel here with Jesse Wadhams, Helen Foley, and Mike Draper. Just want to go through the panel one quick time here because one cannot resist. It's looking like a Biden-Trump matchup again. Are there no younger people that we could be getting, like people maybe in their 60s and early 70s?
I'm speechless. I would expect
that's
that
a
would
first.
Be. Yeah, I would expect
we only
that
have
would
330
be.
million people in this country.
That's it's a shame where we're at right now, and I think that our system is set up to where the established politicians are the ones that are most positioned to continue to run for office, and that's where we are.
Never has a vice president been more important.
Well, that's true, and I think Biden has done an incredible job. And in a perfect world, we would choose someone younger. But we have to take a look at who can beat Donald Trump, and it's Joe Biden. The things that he is so cool, he's so collected, and when I go to bed at night, I sleep well. I don't have to think, oh my God, what has our president said today? What are we going to do? And I think about Ukraine. I think that Donald Trump would have parceled off some of those pieces and given them right to Putin. I am thrilled with the job that Joe Biden is doing.
And yet at the end of his next term, if he is reelected, he will be 86. We took my dad's car keys away when he was in his early 80s.
It's a challenge. Mm-hmm.
Jesse, last word here.
Once again, Gen X gets left behind. We're going to go from boomers to millennials without even stopping at Gen X. So.
And that may be the quote of the day. We'll be right back.
Save money and take transit. Did you know you can ride the bus all day for less than what it would cost you for a gallon of gas? Plan your trip now by going to rtcwashoe.com.
Hi, I'm Renee Summerhour, digital news anchor here at 7 at 7. Watch our streaming nonstop newscast immediately with your mobile phone. 7 at 7 is the new way for you to get every bit of local news you need in just 7 minutes. Breaking news, local neighborhood news, weather, and sports are just a click away. Reporters bring you all of what's happening in the Valley. From Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, YouTube, and more. Get every bit of local news you need from the RJ and LVRJ.com.
Imagine a magical garden that feeds Carson City's hungry and homeless, teaches our high school students agriculture, creates hanging floral displays to beautify downtown, and yet charges nothing. It's not magic. It's the Greenhouse Project. It's real, it's growing, and it needs your help. Go online to carsоncitygreenhouse.org so together we can grow it forward.
Pro Group Management offers workers' comp services to a growing number of industries. As businesses grow and change with the times, the need for a solid workers' comp program must be flexible and up to date. The evolving nature of regulations can make staying ahead of complex tasks challenging. But Pro Group Management simplifies the work so your industry can move forward and succeed. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
When in Carson City, Nevada Newsmakers records in the conference room at the Bank Saloon. Coverage of the 2023 legislative session is brought to you by Liberty Dental Plan, making members shine one smile at a time. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you. The Regional Transportation Commission of Washoe County, your RTC, our community. NV Energy, proudly serving Nevada, providing electricity to 2.4 million electric customers. And by Nevada Builders Alliance, building a better Nevada.
Come join the month-long celebration during the Carson Valley Inn 13th anniversary giveaways with guaranteed $1,000 winners every drawing night and a $13,000 grand prize winner guaranteed. Come celebrate with us during the 13th anniversary giveaways at the Carson Valley Inn.
Our thanks to the Bank Saloon in Carson City and the Builders Alliance for their help with our coverage of the 2023 legislative session. We'll see you on the next broadcast.